Now I would like to call on stage Mr. Karthik Mehta. At the end of today's session, we would like to have a case study on from concept to cash flow. This is the topic. Mr. Karthik.
Everybody repeated it's nearly the end of the day, and I can feel your faces because I myself going through the same routine, So I really will try to make this happen as fast as possible and as practical as possible without going into the philosophy of things. So my objective of this session, as Kalpit and Dr. Sukhwal just suggested, we incubated a firm. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure that I get to you. I am an American. I left a post job in corporate US and I came to India to open up a company on my own. I just wanted to change the style. I was advising the CEOs in US about the way the company can be more profitable from the shareholder value creation standpoint. Now I myself started a company and I know how difficult it was to actually do it as opposed to actually advising and making billions of dollars out of it, So I just want to go through very quickly a pain that we have gone through. What are the learnings from an incubation standpoint that we could not, as a management consultant, could really learn in those days, and very quickly wrap it up. It's not philosophical. It's exactly what we did and how we did, and we just deferred. Maybe Kalpit begin. So it will be in two parts. I will show you exactly what type of company we raised, and very quickly what we did, and then taking up the learnings from that company creation, and then creating some concepts so that people of I see some young people who really have a desire to be an entrepreneur, in the middle of their career or in the beginning of their career, and have a brilliant idea and want to create some company, want to create some fantastic billion-dollar company or something to start with. I think what are the important things that you need to take care of in order for you to take the company from just a thought or a concept to a really positive cash flows that allows you to create value for everybody in your value chain. So with that, I'll just go through very quickly in the interest of time about what company we created. So in a nutshell, it's an ECG company that instead of patient going to the ECG machine goes to the patient. So it's really very small company. So Kalpit did the right thing for me. How it works, I wish we had patient arrives at the family physician, and this is the scenario without our company in the existence, that a patient without looking at the board, I'll just repeat it in the interest of time. A patient has a cardiac pain and he or she goes to the general physician, which is either an Ayurvedic doctor or an MBBS doctor. They do the medical assessment and they realize that they need an ECG to be taken in order for their heart condition to be assessed. So they take an ECG, right? So here are the patient is diagnosed for the ECG by the family physician, and then the family physician generally doesn't have the ECG machine or an ability to interpret the ECG. So they will probably tell the patient to go to the specialist or a physician. So they'll send them to the physician. The patient will arrive at the physician. Patient will have to wait for the physician to be available to be treated. And then patient gets treated. The patient with the chest pain drives all the way back to the general physician. Now you can see that in this whole process. Can you please enter? Go. Now in this whole process, there is a wastage. There is a wait time. There is a travel time. There is a travel time included here, right? And there is a wait time. So for a cardiac patient that needs to be treated in a fraction of a time, there is a lot of waste. So what we did, that we came up with a concept that allows us to really treat it and get rid of this waste. I'll go very quickly. Could you please just go ahead? Okay, so now if you look at this one, instead of patient moving, patient is staying at the general physician's level, GP level. He or she calls our call center and our technician goes to them. Our technician captures an ECG and will upload the ECG, and cardiologist or senior physician at the other end reviews the ECG and sends the remark back electronically, and that's how the ECG process is done. So instead of waiting, traveling and all those things, we just reduce the time. So we created a company. I'll just go very quickly. On the supply side, every company has a supply demand and engine that fulfills the supply and demand, right? In a very 10,000 feet level. So we created our company is made up of about 27 technicians, marketers, call center operations manager and a few executives. On the demand side, we have about 7,000 doctors. We are into about 22 cities of Gujarat. And these are the franchises, these are the channels that we have used in order for us to reach to our customers, which is patients. And this is the engine in the middle of it that is functioning as good as it can in order for these patients to be treated. Let's just go very quickly. So what is, let's just go to the next step because I think it's written. So this is the financial performance as of date, these are the different channels statistics. We can go further. I'm sorry. So most important thing, when you do something as an entrepreneur, when you do something as a businessman, you got to just find out how do I create the value and how do I capture the value that I created, So, would you please just go back? So, we save patients time as you saw it, we save patients money and most importantly, we save patient life because it's a cardiac patient. So that's how we create the value. And some of it we capture because we have created a brand and I will show you some of the financial elements when we go to the concept part and how can we capture them. Would you please just go ahead? And we are into 22 cities of Gujarat, no need to go back, these are the cities, please go ahead. Now important lessons, as an entrepreneur, when as I told you that I was on the other side of the table advising CEOs and now I am a CEO and how difficult it is to actually do it and how difficult it is for an entrepreneur who is with a very finite resources. As an entrepreneur you don't have billions of dollars. If I work for PricewaterhouseCoopers or KPMG that I work with, I would have $1 million worth of a budget and I will have to do it. I have tons of money at my disposal. Here as an entrepreneur, you just have very constrained resources and how do you optimize them and really make some value? One of the most important thing, if you are brilliant entrepreneurs here in this room, and brilliant thinkers, who really think out of the box, the most important thing is that it is not customer's job to tell you what to do. What I mean by that this is actually very contradictory to what IIMs will be teaching, that you do lots of business analysis, you run those business intelligence report and find out what the analysis is, what works, what doesn't work. Don't just think about it. If you have a brilliant idea and if you think that there is a need for this kind of an idea, just do it. Just don't spend tons of time just doing market analysis and wasting tons of time, So it is not custom. Sometimes what happens that your customers are not aware of what they are lacking. So they will not tell you whether they need that or not because they don't have the capacity to understand what you are talking about. If I went to any doctors and tell them I'll give you ECG on demand, he or she probably may not understand. But if I just do it and show them, their life would be miserable without my services, probably that's the best way to do it. So don't just get discouraged. It's not customer's job to tell you what they want. Just if you have brilliant idea, just do it. Don't just do analysis paralysis. Don't let people tell you. These are extremely important lessons that I am also incubating another firm in retail industry. Which is extremely difficult concept. Needs a tons of investment. I have a prototype ready and I'm looking for an angel investment. Now, there is a second line where I will give you an example of one of my cousins. He is a private equity. Himself is an investor in Chicago. Now he told me that the Dropbox guy, the guy who invented the Dropbox.com, which is a $1 billion plus company, he himself came to him in the beginning of his concept. And my cousin, he looked at the idea, presentation, said there are tons of people doing like this. So I'm not going to invest in you. He was discouraged, he went away and went to other investors and Dropbox is $1.5 billion company. So if there are any person who tells you that your idea is flop, or it's not going to work, or it just doesn't have a market need, just don't listen to it. Just do what your heart says, because it's going to work. If you have a passion to do the things, most important thing in entrepreneurship is to have the passion of what you're doing. Are you committed? Do you have the passion? That's very important. Developing revenue model will really help. Don't do the things just for the sake of doing it. Don't do the things just because you believe that it's your idea. Try to map some revenue models. Why? Because if you go to the angel investor and if you have a revenue model, the cash will be immediately generated. If you are struggling with revenues, it's not going to work. It will take some time. That's all. Now, these are the things that I have put. These are not theoretical in nature. These are the things that I have experienced in the last few years. Teamwork, it is a philosophical thing, but I'll just map it to what we have experienced. Now, my partners in my business are very disparate in my thinking. They are not any corporate mentality, and I am born and brought up in corporate mentality. So how do you really work in an environment where you bring complementary skill sets, but you still are not really, compatible with each other? So you make sure that you blend with right team. You just make sure that you are with the right people, so that when it becomes a billion-dollar company, you don't go to the court to really fight for your stakes. Dependence, interdependence, and integration. This is how most of the time the businesses evolve. Initially, you become dependent on each other because he knows something that you don't know, or you know something that he doesn't know. Then, as the time goes by, you become interdependent, which means that we both depend on each other. And then 6 months later, you become integrated, because if one of you leaves the company, your company will go down the tank and your money will anyway go away. So you become integrated. Your destinies become integrated. So give some time to your relationship. You become dependent, interdependent, then your destinies become integrated. And the third one is very important, because just few weeks ago or few months ago, my company itself has gone through very rigorous valuation assessment. And one of the important things that the investors look at when they value a company for the private equity or an angel investment is the quality and the type of team. If you don't bring in good team, or if your team has an internal conflict, they are not going to pay even a single dollar. Because what they are buying is the skill sets, is the incubation skill sets. So if you are not good as a team, your valuation assessment is not going to happen. Another thing is to be mindful of the fact that whatever you do, you have to find a customer at the end of the day. Somebody will have to buy something. If I just simply keep on producing something that doesn't have any customer, then it's not going to work. I'm not going to go into the detail because this is a little bit of a theoretical side. Let's go to the next one. The reason I put a taxi here, I heard a lot of people, I heard a lot of people here that in the hospital management scenario, if you look at the hospitals, a hospital close to 2 kilometers to my house, to 5 kilometers to my house, they are all commodities. They are all probably serving the same type of patients. So how do I create differentiation? I heard lots of speakers, lots of comments. One of them was, I think, Mr. Lal from Bach's Hospital. He says that whenever somebody walks into the CT scan, my CT scan operator has a statement that says that I am a CT scan operator. I will do your CT scan. It's going to take 30 minutes. It will scan blah blah blah. At the end of it, you will be going to this. It's a mission statement in short. How do you really create a hospital that allows you to be differentiated? The small itchy bitchy things just really creates value over and above your competitors can. So the taxi, I put it because there is a very famous in the venture capital and private equity world, there is a very famous example out there for a taxi, that one of the private equity guy went to the New York taxi, and the taxi driver just opens the door and gives him a kind of a printed letter, that I am your taxi driver, sir, and my job will be to take you safely from point A to point B in the most optimal way. And will you please come in? And he sits in and he says that, sir, would you mind me playing jazz or soft music or whatever, would you mind taking this, would you mind taking this, would you mind? He just interacts with him as if he's the CEO of that taxi, And they made the analysis that the taxi driver himself was making more tips per month than any other taxi driver. Now what was he doing? He was just treating his commodity job, which is driving a taxi, and adding substantial value by simply doing things that doesn't need rocket science. So there is no such thing as commodity. Wait, can you please go back one step? Whatever the people say, this is an extremely important business management principle which will not be available. Most of the B schools, wherever you go, they will say that your business is a commodity. They will say that if you go to Procter & Gamble CEO, he's going to say that my industry is so mature, and he's going to lament that there is no differentiation available. But he's wrong. There is no such thing as commodity. Everything that you do, you can do it in a little bit different way, a little bit nicer way, in order for your customers to appreciate it and really release some more dollars or more services to you. So there is absolutely no such thing as commodity. Commodity in a business world is called something that is differentiated based only on the price. Which means that, this shirt and that shirt is a commodity because the difference is the price. And I think most of the hospitals, since you guys are from the hospital management background, hospitals are commodity to a certain extent. You go to one hospital or another hospital, doesn't make much of a difference. The difference will come when you introduce non-commodity related, innovative, creative things, Again, as I said, available resources, processes and values, I think it's theoretical. Let's just go next. This is something that we have learned from a financial progress standpoint. As we talked about, you got to have a concept and you should believe in that concept. You should have a very powerful team that executes that concept. That team really gels very well like a well-oiled machinery. Then you should have invented a customers through different channels. Then you should create the differentiation so that you can establish yourself as an established player. Then the least thing, that we are in the business of making money. So financial progress is extremely important. As a CEO of the company, especially I am not talking about CEO of a company which is $1 billion turnover. I am talking about incubation. I am talking about entrepreneurship. That if you are a CEO of a small company, which is a very limited resources, you never want to run out of money. You want to make sure that every 100 rupees that you spend, at least the operating expenses are met. You should have a razor sharp, very intense desire to make sure that at the end of the month you spend 100 rupees and you make 100 rupees so that you don't have to go to your investor every other day that I need more money. It's not going to work. So operating cash flow management, is extremely important for a CEO. Anybody who thinks of becoming an entrepreneur, I think this probably would be one of the most important elements. And as an entrepreneur, you don't want to stick to one place for a long time. It is very human. I mean, all of us have a desire to go from one level to the higher level. So growth and profitability analysis, profitability fight will always be there. How do I grow my company? And if I grow my company, obviously I have to invest in growth. If you invest in growth, your profitability goes down the toilet. So now, if you focus too much on profitability, your growth is not going to be that high, and investor is not going to be happy anyway. So this is an art rather than a science. Managing growth versus profitability, delicate balance is more of an art that you gain as you get more exposure to the market, or you have an innate capability that allows you to do that. But important thing is to make sure that if you go to the investor, there are companies in US, like for an example, if you are, Warren Buffett's company, Berkshire Hathaway, where Warren Buffett buys any company, and if that company doesn't have good margins, and if it is a $110 billion company available for $90 billion, he is not going to buy. Because his main principle is that I will invest in an industry, in a sector that has good margins. So if you are a CEO of a company that he buys, and if your mantra is a growth, you are going to be fired next day because you don't get along with him. So most important thing is to really learn the delicate balance of growth versus profitability. And having a financial prowess, if I go to the investor, either angel investment or private equity or venture capital, depending upon the status of my organization. If I tell them that look, my operating cost is easily within my limits, my operating cost is about 60% of my top line. If you show them that even though you are small, you are very careful about spending every dollar that you spend in your way, they will trust you, they will love you because they like the people who are very frugal. They will not give you money because in other way they'll give you money if you think that you will protect their wealth, And I think I have experienced that if you walk into that cabin and if you say that these are my operating profits and this is the way I optimize my operation across my value chain, they're going to love it. So these are the important lessons for an entrepreneur, for a company that we raised. And I thought that there was some correlationship to hospital management because whether it's an act investment, I talked to Dr. Modi also, that in entrepreneurship world where we get involved, especially my mantra is that I will not invest my time and resources in something where X return 1.3X. If I invest 100 rupees and if it gives me 130 rupees at the end of the year, I'm not going to be there. I want to be invested in X is equal to 10X at the end of the year and after 3 years. whatever my planning horizon, the entrepreneurship is all about abnormal returns, you know. So for abnormal returns, you know, you got to have creativity, innovation, good team in place, good customers, you know, and a passion to just make it happen, you know. So I think it's very late in the day, and I'm really sorry that I took this time, but I think next time, I think it's done. If you don't have any questions, then I think we'll just end up this program. I think it's the last one, right?
Thank you so much, Mr. Kartik Mehta. May I please request Ms. Nidhi Sagar to present the permission to Mr. Kartik Mehta.
Thank you.